The Lucifer Effect was written by Philip Zimbardo, a famous psychologist. The book was published in 2007 and is based on Zimbardo's Stanford prison experiment, which happened in 1971. In this study, college students were put in a pretend prison and randomly assigned to be either guards or prisoners. The experiment was supposed to last 2 weeks, but it had to stop after only 6 days because of how quickly people changed their behavior in disturbing ways. This book talks about how normal people can do terrible things when they are in certain situations, showing how power and social pressure affect behavior. The story begins with Zimbardo explaining the experiment in detail. He describes how the students were chosen. They were all physically and mentally healthy young men who volunteered for a study about prison life. The selection process was designed to eliminate any individuals with psychological issues or a history of violence to ensure the participants were as neutral as possible. Once selected, the participants were randomly assigned as either prisoners or guards through a coin flip. This method ensured that pre-existing personality traits or biases did not influence the roles they played. The students who were prisoners were arrested from their homes without warning, just like real criminals. They were taken to a fake prison in the basement of Stanford University, where they were stripped of their personal identities and given only a number and a simple uniform. They were told they had to obey the guards and follow strict rules, such as asking permission for basic activities like using the bathroom. Although they were volunteers, they were not given an easy way to quit the experiment once it started, as they were meant to feel like real prisoners. Technically, they could leave if they strongly insisted, but the experiment's structure discouraged them from doing so. The students who were guards were given uniforms, sunglasses to hide their eyes, and batons to make them feel powerful. They were also given complete control over the prisoners, with minimal instructions beyond maintaining order. They were not allowed to use physical violence, but could implement punishments, such as forcing prisoners to do exercises or isolating them. At first, the guards followed their instructions cautiously, treating it as a simple role-playing exercise. However, as time passed, they started to enjoy their power. They began enforcing stricter rules and issuing harsher punishments. At first, it felt like a game, but very quickly, the situation became serious. The guards started enforcing strict rules and issuing small punishments, such as making prisoners do push-ups. At first, the prisoners resisted and tried to maintain a sense of normalcy. However, as punishments increased and the guards became more authoritative, the prisoners began to break down. Some of them followed orders to avoid further suffering, while others became emotionally drained and detached. The fear of additional punishment led most prisoners to obey without question. They accepted the unfair treatment, believing they had no other choice. This shift in behavior showed how quickly people adapt to new roles and how social pressure can strip away individuality. Zimbardo describes how, in just a few days, the guards started abusing their power. As they gained confidence, they became more creative in their cruelty. They made the prisoners do humiliating things, like cleaning toilets with their bare hands, staying alone for long periods, and obeying dehumanizing commands. Some prisoners were forced to stand in stress positions for hours, while others were denied food or sleep. The guards acted as if they had complete control and felt no responsibility for their actions. Many of them justified their behavior by saying they were simply doing their job. The prisoners, in turn, became weak and hopeless. Some stopped eating, while others completely gave up on resisting the guards. They began to see themselves as actual prisoners, not volunteers in an experiment. Even Zimbardo himself, who was acting as the prison superintendent, got caught up in the experiment and didn't realize how bad things had become until someone else pointed it out. The experiment ended when a fellow researcher, Christina Maslach, strongly protested against the cruelty she saw. Her intervention made Zimbardo realize that he had lost perspective, proving how even the leader of an experiment can fall into a dangerous mindset when influenced by a powerful situation. This highlights how authority can blind even well-meaning individuals to the suffering of others. After explaining the experiment, the book talks about real-life events. Zimbardo compares what happened in the Stanford prison experiment to real cases of abuse, such as the mistreatment of prisoners at Abu Ghraib in Iraq. He argues that in the right situation, almost anyone can become cruel. This doesn't mean people are naturally bad, but rather that the environment and the roles they are given can change them. He calls this idea situational evil, meaning that people's surroundings can make them act in ways they never thought they would. He provides examples of how military institutions, prisons, and authoritarian governments can create environments that encourage mistreatment and violence. Zimbardo also talks about how people convince themselves that their harmful actions are okay. When people have authority and are given vague instructions, they may think they are just following orders instead of making personal choices. He uses historical examples, like the Holocaust, to show how ordinary people got involved in terrible events without seeing themselves as villains. He explains how small changes in behavior, like treating others as less human, can slowly lead to bigger acts of cruelty. This process, which he calls dehumanization, makes it easier for people to harm others without feeling guilt. Later in the book, Zimbardo explains that while bad situations can bring out the worst in people, they can also bring out heroism. He encourages readers to resist unfair authority and be aware of how social pressure can change their choices. He believes that understanding how these influences work can help people make better decisions and prevent harm before it happens. In the final chapters, Zimbardo shares ideas about how society can stop abuses of power. He stresses the importance of strong moral values, critical thinking, and standing up against injustice. He also calls for changes in systems that allow harmful behavior, such as strict hierarchies, where people are afraid to question authority. Overall, The Lucifer Effect is a powerful book about why people sometimes do terrible things. Through the Stanford prison experiment and real-world examples, Zimbardo shows how normal people can be influenced by their environment to act in shocking ways. The book warns about the dangers of unchecked power and blind obedience, but it also gives hope. It reminds readers that people can resist bad influences and choose to do good, even in difficult situations. By understanding these forces, we can protect ourselves and others from becoming part of harmful systems.